Hello and welcome to Giant Mess. I'm your host, Neal Lynch. I am a giant mess. I'm a Giants and Mets fan who loves movies, comedy, TV, and a whole lot more. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about a whole lot. Got a whole lot of catching up to do on this episode. We're going to be talking about the movies Jexi with Adam Devine from Workaholics, Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, It Comes at Night, do a little bitty about that. I'll also talk about Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez, a true crime documentary series about the former Patriots tight end who was, a whole lot going on there that we're going to dive into. So let's get started. Where to start? It's been 2 weeks since I've talked to you. 2 long weeks. And why has it been 2 weeks? It's supposed to be a weekly show. At one point, it was supposed to be like every other day show. That never panned out. But it's been 2 weeks because it's been insanely busy at work. I can't even begin to describe the 5-alarm fire that was on my head at all times the past 2 weeks. Just hair completely burnt off. You're looking, if you're watching the video, you see hair. This is a toupee. Because it's insanely busy. So busy I couldn't put together a sentence. Struggling to put together a sentence right now. It's been rough start to 2020, and I've just been eating and drinking. That's it. There's no health. January's supposed to be about health. The new year, new you. No, new year, old me. Very old me. It's a new kind of me where I just don't care about my physical appearance anymore. That's cool, as you can see from the video. Tried to lose some weight for that one wedding in November before Thanksgiving, and it was all downhill since then. Everything's out the window. Everything's out the door. I can't believe I fit into my clothes still. Something weird is happening at night that I'm able to fit into my clothes after the things I'm putting in my body. Outrageous. Insane. So I'm coming to you, recording this on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, MLK Day. Shout out to the King. Whose dream, it's a marathon, not a sprint, I guess. It's funny because 2 years ago is when I first sat down and recorded. This is like the lost episode of Giant Mess. It wasn't even Giant Mess at that point. It was like, I want to do some kind of podcast or talk show where I just talk, get my thoughts out there, leave some kind of legacy behind, for people to get to know me better, because life is short. So 2 years ago, I was like, I'm going to sit down. All the how-tos and the tutorials say to you, just record like an intro to the show. Just let people know what it's about. It could be like 3 minutes, whatever. And an hour later, I got done recording. I was like, shit. And I was recording it on my laptop, so the video quality stunk. Not that the video quality now is any better. But the audio wasn't as good as it is now. Thanks. Shout out Blue Yeti for their microphone. It's so good it can pick up swallowing and saliva moving around in my mouth and every bugger that's ever come through my nose. Thanks, Blue Yeti, for recording the most disgusting of sounds coming from my body. But back then, 2 years ago, I was like, all right, I sat down on MLK Day and went on a rant for an hour, and it's probably never going to see the light of day. Maybe, I don't know. If I hit it big time, we'll dig through the rubble of my past life, and someone will find it and put it on YouTube and be like, look at this jackass. So that should be fun. But no, it's been an insane 2 weeks. My sister-in-law came and visited, not this past weekend, but the previous weekend. She was in town to go to see Mean Girls, the musical on Broadway, which is so funny to say out loud in the year 2020. When that movie came out, what was it, 03, 04? I was, who would have thunk? I was convinced that I was destined to meet and fall in drunk love with Lindsay Lohan. And I full on admit I am delusional to the nth degree. There's no argument there from me. I know I'm delusional. Delusions of grandeur, as they say. I got that. It's a surplus. We need to liquidate liquefy, because I got it in spades. I'm throwing out the terms. I don't even know what they mean, to be honest. I'm just throwing them out. But I really thought that, Lindsay Lohan was it. It's like, whoa, party girl, ginger. Okay. Yeah, it didn't pan out. But if you said, hey, your wife's sister and mother will go see Mean Girls on Broadway, I'd be like, at the AMC there? They got an AMC there? They're going to re-release this thing? I mean, it's a good comedy, but is it that good? And no, they went. Had a good time. So I got to spend some QT with the baby, which was nice. Yeah, she kind of just is so bored with me and with us. And it's just like, I'm sorry, this is it. I mean, you have so many toys, building blocks, a toy kitchen, another toy kitchen, a toy car, going places, but not too far is the song that stupid toy car plays. And so we just hung out and waiting for the cavalry to come back, and watched a lot of NFL playoff games. I think the wild card round was really exciting. The divisional round was somewhat less exciting. This past weekend, the conference championships were pretty much blowouts, pretty boring stuff. So I don't know if there's much we need to talk about there, other than the fact that we talk so much about how the quarterback is so important to the football team, and then you have someone like Ryan Tannehill that took his squad to the championship. Conference championship. He started off as a backup, and he threw less than 100 yards in the 2 playoff wins against the Ravens and the I don't even remember, Patriots, I guess. Yeah, right. Jesus. And that just goes to show how important the run game is. But I want to start off with TV. There's a big date announcement for Westworld. Westworld season 3. Is it season 3 or season 4? Is it season 3? I don't know. They just like to take like a decade between each season. They're like, we're going to hit you with some awesome shit for like 6 to 10 weeks. And then we're going to take a break for 2-3 years. And you're like, oh, fucking Westworld. What the hell happened there? Anyway, that's returning March 15th. And people soured on season 2. And yeah, I guess I'm not completely disappointed with season 2. I still enjoyed it thoroughly. Season 3 looks like they're taking a completely different angle towards it. It's going to be, I guess, outside the amusement park. Jesse Pinkman, what's his face, is going to be in the series. They're going to have some of the old cast coming back, some new cast members. I'm still very interested in that show. It's going to take a lot for me to tune out on that one. The Bachelor started back up, so my wife's excited. The Bachelor's actually airing right now, and she's watching that. And, I watched the first 2 episodes with her. So it was like the first episode and then the second episode. The first episode was like super long, and the second episode was the regular length. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know how anyone takes it. I know that most people watching don't take it serious. Well, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen the numbers. I haven't seen the stats, but I would say that there's a fair amount of people that hopefully don't take this show seriously at all, which is sad because there are a lot of people who do. And then the people on the show take it very seriously because it is a serious thing. It should be. Love, romance, engagement, marriage, shouldn't be taken lightly. I don't know how anyone could be in the position of being the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, because that thing is recorded over the span of 8 weeks. So like in 2 to 3 months, you're just like, that's it. And I scoff at that timeline, but I don't know that I scoff as hard anymore. I talked the last episode, I was talking about all the New Year's Eve nights that I remembered. And one of them was when Cassie and I spent our first New Year's Eve together, and we had been like officially exclusive maybe like 2 weeks, or something like that. And we said, I love you. So yeah, life comes at you pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm not, but still to kind of just run through 30 chicks at a time and you're making out with everyone. It's just like, I don't know how. It's a very heavy burden to bear. And I'm not envious of that person. Bachelorette, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's maybe less stressful just because like, I feel like women are more pursued than the man typically. So I think women are more capable of handling it just because they've been handling it their entire life. So it's less stressful for them. And whereas the guy, it's like I think the guy comes into it a little more lighthearted. And it's just like, oh man, I get like all these women and they're all interested in me. And it's just about like, whatever. But the two moments that stood out to me so far that I can remember, I think the first episode, was the first episode? They just constantly talking about, and I don't remember this from Hannah's season. I think this is the thing where I kind of watched the first couple episodes with my wife, and then I just kind of like it trails off. I'm just like, I'm not into this anymore, especially since my wife is insane and typically reads all the spoilers before the scene starts. What is the fun in that? I don't understand. But she didn't read the spoilers for the season. So she's like, what's funny to me is she'll read the spoilers typically, and she'll still get shocked and surprised. She still gasps at certain moments, and it's just like, you knew that was going to happen. And it's the same with like movies that she watches over and over and over again. It'll be like 10 millionth time she's seen a movie, and she'll still gasp at all the same moments. And it's just like, all right. I feel like you got an interesting brain on you, girl. The ability to reset, which that's a great ability to have. Oh my God, if you love a movie and you can watch it as if it's the first time you're watching it every time, what a great, amazing trait to have. That is a skill right there. So anyway, the first episode, it was like Hannah's like constantly around. I guess she's the bachelorette from last season, and she's the one. Pete is like the third place finisher from last season. And so now he's the bachelor. And they apparently did it in a windmill 4 times, which is impressive. I can say from personal experience, 4 times, one. I'm guessing it was like a 12-hour period, if I had to guess. Like, I mean, 4 times in 12 hours, that's impressive. I don't think I've ever done that. When they say 4 times, it's like back to back to back to back to back. I don't know. I could see like the first time, boom, I shoot. I'm just way too quick, ending it way too quick. So that I guess that's 1 for me, even though it's not 1 for her, really. It's like half of 1 for her. And then 2, it's like a little bit longer. And it's like, you just got to have a forgiving woman on the other end of that, in my opinion. It's never like 4-hour long sessions. I don't know. Maybe it is. It's just an interesting dynamic when you have all these women interested in this guy. And I think they actually got more interested in him because it was on everyone's mind. It was all, like the first thing that they mentioned when they're interviewing him direct to camera is like 4 times. Like they couldn't get over it. And that made him more like, if he didn't do that and there was no 4 times with Hannah, like, are we in the same boat? Are they still as into him? It's like, I don't think so. But it's weird to have Hannah come back and she's kind of like, yeah, 4 times in the windmill. And all the women are like, why is she still here? Get her the F out of here. And then you eventually find out that, yeah, like he still has feelings for her. She still has feelings for him, which I don't know how real that is. But I mean, 4 times. You gotta have some kind of, there's gotta be some kind of chemistry there. Typically it's like if it's a one-night stand and you can't stand the person, I don't know. Usually it's like a one and done. Like, thanks, that was me. That was cool. I'm out. 4 times, there's definitely some kind of connection there, or just drugs, drugs and alcohol, which could have been the case. I don't know. So that was awkward. Like, all right, so now you gotta know that like that woman is being all cheery and happy and weird about the fact that she got this guy 4 times in a windmill. But then the women are like, you need to get out of here. But they're still kind of honed in on that 4 times. The other moment I thought was funny was the champagne facial that the one blonde chick got. She's just such an angry person. The one who's like in a bitter rivalry with the Hannah Ann, the young model. And I guess the tall blonde who's angry all the time, she's a little on the older side. Possibly a little more jaded, cynical. But she was so upset because I guess the Hannah Ann stole this champagne that she had set up for her one-on-one with Pete. And so she got super pissed, went all in on Hannah Ann. And then Pete was like, come on. Took her aside and they had some more champagne. And she was like, I'm still a classy bitch or something like that. And she like opens the champagne, takes a drink, just goes all over her face. I laughed really hard at that. that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. The build up to it. I mean, just it was so perfect the way that they edited it, and it all came together with her getting popped in the face with champagne. It reminds me there was like a Tumblr, I guess back in 11 or 12 that my buddy from high school turned me on to called Champagne Facials, which was actually by a guy named Kirill of Kirill Was Here fame, who I actually tried to recruit to the Daily Motion video platform. And what an interesting cat. And then I ended up seeing him. It's like basically, if you don't know Champagne Facial, it's like this guy, nightlife photographer, videographer. He gets booked to go places and just, I don't know, he just pops champagne onto women's faces and takes these very high res, beautiful, top quality images of women getting champagne shot in their face, champagne facials. So my buddy turned me on to that, and I was like, this guy, and he ended up, ironically, so this guy's life has kind of interweaved with mine, as definitely making it out to be something it's not. But talked to him to get on board with Daily Motion. Then eventually he was like in Hoboken, and he was the guy that like there was that one bar right off the train, like right by the path. Fairly large bar. I only went there like less than a handful of times, but apparently he got booked there, and there's video of not him, but some guy like digitally inserting into a lady on the bar, and possible it got pretty graphic and intense. And I guess the bar Teak on the Hudson or something like that, the bar got shut down, license revoked or something like that, and Krill was just like, made my money. He gets like some outrageous amount of money, like $5,000-$10,000 an appearance or something like that. And I was like, I guess because people know him and he has a following that they'll show up to the bar if he goes. But if you're a bar now, you got to be like, well, I'm just going to get my license revoked. I don't know if I'm down with this. But there was a Netflix documentary that had like the Fat Jew, Paris Hilton, Kirill, maybe like 1 or 2 other people. And it was just, typical, like the rise to fame, how they love the fame, but then the downside of fame and how like they're so lonely, even though I have such a huge following. And except for Paris Hilton, Paris was just like, no, I'm like, I like it. My fans come up to me and I feel like I'm friends with them, and I was like, all right. But Kirill, so funny seeing him like visiting his parents in Jersey, I think. And they're like, when are you going to get married? I think they're Russian or something. He's just like, mom, come on. So, and he talks about how like, I just can't take like hooking up with all these women. I'm just like, I don't know. It's tough. when you put yourself out there to such a degree, you know, and then you gotta like, oh, well, now I want to settle down. It's like, well, there's about 1 million photos and videos that you've taken or that you're in that are kind of hard to delete from the internet. Although it's been done. I think Beyonce has been able to do it, and Hulk Hogan. So Godspeed, Kirill. But the other time that I laughed my ass off was watching The Circle, which this is what when my sister-in-law visited. She's 23 now, and she got us hooked on The Circle, which is like this social media game reality series on Netflix, where it's like 8 people move into some apartment complex in Chicago. They're not allowed to see each other at all, ever. They can only converse with each other over social media. This platform called The Circle, which I can't believe this is why I doubt the validity of this thing. Cause like if this thing were real, it would be rolled out, no beta, like full on hard launch, like ASAP. I can't believe it's not a thing already, because the way that it works is just like, how is this not like, this would blow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything else out of the water if it was actually real. But I cannot convince myself that it is. You know, because essentially they have a TV in each apartment, and each person can just like talk to the TV, and the TV will dictate what they're saying and be able to send messages and insert emoji and all this other stuff, like invite to group chats, private chats, all this other stuff. And I'm just like, this is the future, which is scary. And secondly, if this were real, this would be out in a thing, like, and maybe it still will be based on the popularity and success of the show. I don't know it's that wildly popular, but if it does work, I can't believe it's not being rolled out already. But you just say like, message at so and so, I appreciate your courage in coming out to me, heart emoji, send. It's just like, that's what there's not going to be, you know, because people are already pretty self-conscious about talking on the phone. So, and it takes the voice aspect out of it too, because like if you talk on the phone, you can hear who the person is, and this is just all text messaging, instant messaging via text, or you can see the people's pictures. But the twist is there are like 2 catfish. So like there's one guy who pretends that he's his girlfriend. He has a girlfriend who's attractive, and so he uses her picture and pretends he's her. Another catfish was like a heavyset black lady posing as a hot black woman. There was who was the other one? There was a heavyset white woman who was pretending to be like a attractive skinny white woman. There might have been one more, but it's like, you know, it's so funny seeing these people interact, and like there were 2 people that I kind of connected with the most, and it was Ed and Bill, because they were just like, the one guy got eliminated in like the second episode he was ever in, and he was just like, I wasn't fake enough. You know, you have to be super fake and show all this quote unquote love and loyalty to people you barely know or don't know at all. And you have to really go over the top with like your love for other people and loyalty without seeming too over the top. And so that was kind of the takeaway. It was like, you know, and even the Indian kid who I loved, he was like one of my favorite characters, Shubham. You know, he was very against social media coming into it, and then he just got suckered right into it, right into the whole game of social media. Like, you know, and said how he hates how, you know, people that lie and the people that are fake and blah, blah. And then he ends up meeting the catfish that he's gone the whole show with, thinking that this is another person, meets that person in real life. And it's just like, there was no hate there. It was all love still. It was just like, interesting, you know? Boy, can't believe I watched that whole series. And I was shitting on it the whole series, but then I was like, well, I got to find out who wins. But the hardest that I've laughed in a while, other than the champagne facial and on The Bachelor, was when they cut so basically what happens is someone, if you get eliminated or blocked from the circle, whatever it is, that person then can choose who to visit in real life and either confront them or just say goodbye or just talk to them, whatever. And so one of the last people to get eliminated visited. They try to play on the suspense aspect of it. And so they cut to everyone in their room kind of like looking like, oh no, they're going to come see me. Because we're all so scared of real life interaction, which is so sad. But so they always cut to certain people and they're always like looking at the door, like scared. And then of course the person goes into someone else's room, not Shuby's. And they cut to Shuby and he's holding up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And he goes, this is the 5th peanut butter sandwich I've made and they haven't come. And he just takes a bite. I don't know. The fact that he makes a PB&J sandwich for the person that's coming to confront him, and he's done it 5 times in a row, and no one has come to see him. So funny. But of course, like a kid wins that, it's a guy that, I don't know. These people, they say they're so genuine and they're so real and authentic and da-da-da. And it's like, they all told lies. The one girl said that, we didn't find out she had a boyfriend until the end of the show. And she was like, yeah, I flirted with people because you win $100,000 if you win the game. Like you win $100,000. So that money's on the line. These are 7 strangers. And it's like, if you know how to do like make connections with people and, don't get too wild with it, be as real as someone can be while trying to fake a connection. And it's like, you guys aren't going to hang out after the show or ever again or talk ever again. You just want $100,000. You're on your way. But I always thought about that. Like, these reality shows, like I used to try out for reality. I've said it before on a previous show. Like I used to try out for reality shows when I was younger because it was like, what the fuck else am I going to do? My job sucks, like whatever. Because I didn't have like a career or family or anything like that. So you can just go and do it. And if you win, great. And if not, great. You're kind of just back where you started. But I was like, there's no way you can do that now. Like Shuby was saying in the after the show, the series, he was just like, I would have liked to have an older person on the show because like all the people on the show are like 18 and 24, maybe at the oldest, like late 20s. So it would have been interesting to have like just a fucking 40 or 50-year-old who was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? And there were the 2 guys, Bill and Ed. Like Bill was like, this is fake. I guess I need to be more fake, in order to excel in this game. And the other guy, Ed, was just like, yeah, like, it wasn't about that. I just couldn't force myself to try and like be so forward with love and loyalty and all this thing when it's like, you've known that you don't even know that person at all. So what an insane show. But look forward to the Circle social media platform coming and destroying us all. It's like Wall-E. Like Wall-E is definitely going to happen. I feel myself becoming one of the fat people in Wall-E. Like Wall-E is one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen. I was just like, wow, this is, now that we've all seen Wall-E, there's no way this is going to happen because we've all seen Wall-E and we realize we can't do this. But yet we plunge forward, coming ever closer to the harsh reality of Wall-E. I guess the big series that I watched on TV was just this weekend. It was actually all 3 episodes on Sunday. It was Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez. Oh boy. A lot to unpack here. And I guess a lot to unpack. And I knew, I wouldn't say I knew every single intricate detail of what happened in the cases and the hearings and whatnot. All the sort of details. I didn't know all of it, but I remember I came home Thursday and my wife wanted to watch it because I guess that was the first day it was available. And I was in a fucking mood just because I was just angry about, life and work and just depressed. And I just was like, nope, I know everything I need to know. Pass, like hard pass. And then Sunday came around. I was like, all right. I took the edge off by stuffing my face and drinking my face off for 2 days. I think I'm in a nice sedated spot now. I'll give it a shot, give it a whirl now that nothing else is on. And even though I knew most of the bullet points and the beats and the plot points, still like it felt like this kind of series comes out and it's not like, any true crime documentary series. It's not like I'm clearly stating the obvious here, but like in a fictional drama crime thriller series, it's neat, it's neater than real life. There's a hero and a villain, and sometimes those lines are muddled and blurry. And sometimes in like Watchmen, you don't know who's good, who's evil, and the lines are blurred. And I get that, but it always tends to tie up very neatly and nicely. We get a little bit of closure, and I don't know that there's like a ton of closure with Aaron Hernandez. My wife turned to me afterwards like, what do you think? And I was just like, it felt like the whole time I don't know if it's the producers or who have you, they're kind of pushing you to point the finger. Like, who's to blame? Who do we blame? And that's what we love to do as humans. And I'm kind of averse to it. I don't, I have to be in my current position at work. It's like, no more pointing fingers, no more assigning blame. We can blame Canada and we can blame MTV. Those are two things we can blame. We can blame it on the alcohol. That's three things we can blame it on. But in terms of like the blame game, I don't know. I'm not huge on it. I'm not big on it. At least now. I'm sure I was at some point in my 20s, just like, love to assign blame. But it felt like, they really did give you so many different personalities and contacts and perspectives that it's hard to say, and ultimately the takeaway from this whole series was that this kid, every single thing in his life contributed to what he did. Dramatic pause, sip from the Miller Lite. That's what it'd do. Every single thing. What if he didn't play football? Would this still have happened? If he didn't play football, would he still have gotten CTE? Well, say he went into cage fighting, became an MMA fighter. You can still get CTE from that, although I think there's been less proven cases of that than in football. Boxing. There are a lot of combat sports where you could still get CTE. Now, I think football, even rugby, you would think rugby would have a higher rate of CTE, but I think football is pretty much locked in at number one. But you can get it from like soccer, just going up for a header, you connect heads with someone, get a concussion, it can contribute to CTE. So he still could have played another sport and it could have ended up getting concussions, not to the degree that he had, but what if he did pursue cheerleading or soccer instead of football? Would he have still committed those crimes? Probably not. What if he was just straight? My dude was, I would say, bisexual. Although it seemed like he was probably gay. If I had to, because he often said, do you believe you can be born gay? I think he said to his defense lawyer, who is gay. And the guy was like, yeah, you can be born gay. And the fact that, his father was such a disciplinarian, so strict. It's like, what if your father was not a disciplinarian and was not as strict? well, you wouldn't have behaved. And then, once he passed away when you're in high school, you wouldn't have misbehaved to the extent that he did, because his mom stinks. I mean, I'm sure, as the way the documentary portrayed her made her look real bad. I mean, she was awful. The way that the documentary portrayed her, and like, who knows? I mean, I just saw at most half an hour of her life. It's like, imagine, you've been on this earth. She must be in her 50s, maybe 60s. You've been on this earth 50 or 60 years. You're kind of just doing your thing, and all of a sudden, a 3-hour Netflix series comes out, and you look like shit the whole time. You're like, well, that was 30 minutes out of a million. And damn, I did not get painted in a good light there. But yeah, she looked like shit. He signs the contract extension with the Patriots, 5 years, $40 million, and she asked for $1 million right off the bat. It's like, it's not how it works. And also, like, your husband passes suddenly, unexpectedly, from like a routine hernia surgery, which that really bugs me out. That just bugs me out, especially in the Northeast, where it's like, I think that's the region that has the best medical facilities, best medical personnel. Has to be in the Northeast in my mind. I don't know why I think that, but I just do. I'd say Southeast probably is the worst. I could be very wrong about that. Shots fired. But like routine hernia surgery, and his father, is no longer with us. And then the mom immediately goes and dates Aaron's cousin's ex-husband or something like that. Dude, small fish, small pond. Got to be better than that. And I guess that's when his life started to go off the rails. But so what if he was straight? What if he didn't play football? What if his mom wasn't so horrible? There were so many factors and variables that went into who Aaron Hernandez was, that it all contributed to him and what happened to him and what he did. I think, you can't just assign 100% of the blame on his father passing. I mean, I've been there. When my father passed, I went down a slippery slope. I went downhill for a while. I'm, not to the level that Aaron did, but it was just like, just doing shit that I thought, you have the thought like nothing matters. You just do. You're just like, nothing matters. God isn't real. Like all the cliche things you can think and say, like that happens to, you're like, well, he worked his dick off. He worked his ass off his entire life, and he got nothing but stress, and people fucked him over. And it's like, what do I, life is so goddamn short. It doesn't matter in the end. He didn't get to do what he wanted to do in life. As certain things he obviously accomplished, but I don't think he was like, yeah, I could check out at 56 and be all right. It's like, no. So it just takes a toll on you, especially when you're 20. I was 25 at the time. So there are one or two ways you can go. My sister, I think, was dating someone at the time. She was in college, and I think she kind of maybe went the opposite way. She took it as an opportunity to do charity work, she was just generous and kind and soft-hearted, and became a more loving person. And I was just filled with hate. It was just like, fuck everyone, fuck this. What is there to live for? What's the point? Just kind of just going in a spiral. Spiraling for sure. Like, I'm just going to get as drunk as possible. I'm going to say yes to everything. I'm just going to do everything because it's like, I'm going to die before I want. And, it's getting bitter and just really awful. And it was a very negative headspace for a while, probably really bad from he passed in July. And then August, September, October, November. Like that fall was pretty rough because I had broken up with my girlfriend like months before he passed. So I want to say March or something like that. But she was in the same group of friends that I was in. So I was constantly seeing her. And I was constantly just like getting reminded of a relationship that went bad. It started off good. And and then seeing her with another guy that I actually introduced her to. That's the funniest thing. Ugh. Guy that went to my sister's high school just randomly was like, hey, come to the beach house. And like she was there and introduced him to her. And then I guess that's what started the whole thing, which is insane to me. Every time I say it out loud, I'm like, what? I get a little verklempt. Definitely didn't use that word the right way, correctly, but yeah. So let's say about a year, because I went into 07. I'd say like fall of 07. I probably came back to down to earth, and I was like, you know what? My father was 27 when he either married my mother. Yeah, married my mom. He was 30 when he had me. I got to get my shit together. Like I'm running behind schedule here. There is no schedule, FYI, just for your own personal records. No schedule, no timeline. I thought I was going to have married and have kids in a car and a house by 30. It's like, why would you ever, always been a problem of mine, setting expectations to ridiculously high levels that you just cannot reach. I mean, you can reach them if you're not a lazy, depressed fuck. Very easy if you have the work ethic, which I have the work ethic in certain respects. But anyway, that's getting away from the point here. The point is, yes, so the death of the father can definitely contribute to that downslide and to going off the rails. I definitely did it for a while, to the point where I would lash out at people, lash out at workers and, bosses, whatever. So it definitely, and it continued to affect me. Not as bad, but it continues to affect me to this day, obviously. But really took a hold of me when I was probably 30, just turned 35. For some reason, 35 was like a big year. For some reason, 35 stood out to me. It was like, I'm 35 and this is what it is. And that's when, I was diagnosed with clinical depression. So that was probably the worst of the worst, I guess, since his passing. Since that first year one. Although, yeah, what was that? Yeah, that year. So 2015, 2016, which is crazy because I got engaged and I got married. So it was both like the happiest time of my life, but also like on a professional level was very hard for me. Personal level was like, I found this amazing person and she hasn't run screaming for the hills and she's stuck with me through some pretty tough shit. So it's like, that's all good. I feel like that's great. This is my lifetime partner. But professionally, it was just like, did not feel like I was fulfilling my purpose on this earth. That was definitely a concern, was like, I need to do something better with my life. And I just wasn't. So getting back to fucking Aaron Hernandez, I remember sitting in a bar in 2013, fall of 2013, because I believe the Odin Lloyd thing happened over the summer of 2013. And we probably talked about it on Tri-State Sports Guys. If you want to Google Tri-State Sports Guys, Aaron Hernandez, you'll probably find a video out there somewhere of me talking to my buddy from college about it. But you tend to forget that the fucking Patriots had what could have been the two best tight ends in NFL history. I mean, Aaron, I probably should walk that back. But just because of Aaron's injury history and the fact that he was, we later find out that he was his brain was just not healthy at all. But you look at Gronk and I know Gronk's had his injury problems, but he's always able to play through it. And when he did play, even when injured, he still put up some, top-notch numbers. So, but the fact that they got in the same draft, Gronk at second round, Hernandez fourth round, two, in my mind, elite tight ends, same draft, 2 rounds apart, both were able to start in a league, and they made a point of this, like in a league where most offenses are going towards 3 receivers, 4 receiver sets. And you have the Pats being like, nah, we're good. We have 2 amazing tight ends. We might even throw 3 tight ends out there. So like Jermaine Wiggins was one of the guys featured in the documentary, and he was like, he thought that saying CTE was the cause of Aaron like murdering people was a cop out. I can kind of see that, because I don't know. Knowing what happened with Junior Seau, I mean, that was insane. Every picture you see of Junior Seau, you see of Junior Seau, dude's like laughing, ear to ear smile. Just seems like a top-notch positive guy. And he took his own life because he couldn't bear it. So they had like a former Patriots offensive lineman who came out as gay, talking about how he wanted to not fall into the stereotypes that most gay men are associated with, fit, attractive, blah, blah. So he like purposely tried to make himself look unattractive and be fat and sloppy. And he was up to like 370 pounds, and his coaches were like, dude, lose some weight. And talking about how he wanted to play football for as long as he could, knowing the effects of CTE and all that, because the moment he stopped playing football, he's going to kill himself. It's like, Jesus Christ. Takes a lot out of you. It's just like, okay, you want to talk about what ifs? What if we had the current stance towards homosexuality in the year 2020 in 2010, 2011, 2012? What if it was just like, everyone just thought homosexuality was fine? Would Aaron be in the situation that he's in? Because a lot of what his frustration, anger, and whatnot, lashing out, the violence, could be associated with the fact that he was kind of, he felt forced to be closeted and couldn't be open and about it. The rumor is that if Odin Lloyd found out about him being gay, maybe had proof, maybe he was going to go public with it or something, and Aaron was like, you better not tell anyone, blah, blah, threatening him. And then Odin, they had a disagreement, and Odin was like, I'm going public with this. And Aaron was just super worried because, what was it, 2013? Was that the same draft that Michael Sam? Was it Michael Sam? 2012 draft, 2013 draft. It was like the first openly gay college prospect to be drafted. So it was right around that same time, but I think even that couldn't sway or persuade Aaron. Maybe that even like accelerated that feeling for him, because like Michael Sam comes out, and the reaction amongst most locker rooms is like, no, fuck that. I'm not going to let that guy play on my team. And so that might have just reinforced Aaron's feeling that like, I can never let anyone know that I'm gay. There's another what if. What if people or teams, NFL, were more accepting? Would he have gone on that? Would Odin Lloyd still be alive, But it's just a number of things. But I remember being at a bar in the fall of 2013 and seeing a dude in an Aaron Hernandez jersey. I think I took a photo of it and posted it on social media. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? I guess it's hard to have zero sympathy for the guy, zero empathy for the guy, considering all the events outside of his control that had a profound impact on him. Like, they made it out to seem like the cousin who was dying of breast cancer and was essentially acting as his mom and they were very close, and acting as if like, what if Aaron didn't have her? What would be the end result? Still feels like bad shit was happening when he was staying over at her house, and she allowed the bad shit to happen, because it's like, you know, I think she was 38 when he was 23 or something like that. So she's only like 15 years older. It's kind of hard to be a mom when there's that kind of age difference. I mean, Cassie's like 11 years older than her sister. And, you know, Cassie's mom is, my wife's mom is, you know, was 17, I think, when she had Cassie. So it's tough. I mean, it's so funny. Like, it felt very like Making a Murderer when that shit happened. Whenever they reveal something, you're like, oh, fuck Aaron Hernandez, man. I can't believe he did that shit. It's so fucked up. And then in like half an hour later, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I reacted like that. Like, you know, I just took the bait, line, hook, and sinker, just fucking took it like a sucker, and just got sucked into that, like exactly what they wanted you to feel. Just amazing. It's why documentaries, you know, we're in the age of a documentary era, golden age, I guess. But you have to remember that it's still a story being told by individuals or a group that want you to feel a certain way. If it were just presenting facts from start to finish, would you still have the same emotional reaction? Probably not. So obviously they're going to structure it in a way, and they did that. They would bounce back and forth from present to past, present, past, present, past, present, past. You know, 2017, 2013, 2016, 2015, that kind of thing. Man, I can't imagine going and getting a scholarship, a football scholarship, to the University of Florida or any D1 school that is just like amazing weather. Just like, I can't imagine. What if he didn't get drafted by the Patriots? That was another big one. So like the fact that he's from Bristol, Connecticut, he grew up and was raised there, and all the kind of, you know, he had some positive influences there, but mostly negative influences were there. And so the fact that the Patriots are in New England, Bristol, Connecticut, so close. And so he, you know, would get sucked back into that, you know, that bad lifestyle with the Patriots. So like, what if he got drafted by the Seahawks? What if he got drafted by the Raiders? You know, anyone out west, anyone that's far, far away from Bristol, Connecticut, does the same shit happen? I don't know. Maybe not on that same timeline. Maybe it's just like eventually happens just because he doesn't feel, he feels so alone. So maybe he flies out some, you know, his buddies, some of his accomplices and his crew to kind of live with him out there, and then start doing some bad shit out there. So that law that Massachusetts has is insane. So like, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen it. I don't know why you're still listening if you still, or watching if you still haven't seen it. But so he gets he's convicted for the murder of Odin Lloyd. You know, guilty, gets life in prison, and he has like next to no reaction. He's just like stone faced. And then he's also brought up on charges for the double homicide in Boston, where allegedly, you know, he and this guy, this big drug dealer that he was rolling with, rolled up on the side of a car. These two guys that they, one of the guys like spilled a drink on Hernandez, and so Hernandez got super pissed and like tracked them down, waited for him to come out of the club, and then followed them, pulled up alongside him, and then reached across the driver's seat with a gun and like popped him and drove off. And when the drug dealer, it's how stupid I am. The drug dealer is telling that story in court at the Odin Lloyd hearing, and I'm just like, I can't believe fucking Aaron Hernandez would do that. Like, what's his deal? And it's like, man, it must be a mixture of like his heavy use of weed combined with the painkillers, Toradol, whatever it's called, plus the CTE, plus trying to mask that he's gay, plus, you know, all this stuff that's hurting him inside. And I bought that. I was like, yeah, okay. So, you know, if it's all this evidence pointing to him that murdered Odin Lloyd, so why wouldn't he have murdered two random people? And then you later you see him like fill in the blanks and start to paint the picture a little bit better. And it's like, oh, it's probably this fucking drug dealer, but still, it's still random. There's still no connection whatsoever. But you can see, like, even when the drug dealer is telling the story about how Aaron shot the drug dealer in his face after something went awry in I think it was Miami or Florida. You later find out, nope, that was actually, he doesn't know who shot him, because it was a deal that went bad. And apparently it was Aaron's contacts that were trying to do the deal with this kid, with the drug dealer, and shit went wrong, went sideways, and the drug dealer got popped, and it might not have been Aaron Hernandez. So Hernandez is found not guilty for that double homicide of these two random dudes. And he cries. So he cries this time around, and like looks at his daughter and blah, blah, blah. And then, he goes and hangs himself. And allegedly had a gay lover in prison. And it's just so tragic and interesting, the fact that, you hear these phone calls that he had with like his fiance and with his mom, and he's calling like transgendered people those things, and talking bad about gay people, and all a facade, all to maintain that hard exterior that he wanted, because he didn't want anyone to think he was soft, just because he was gay. It's like overcompensating completely. But so the law is that he gets off not guilty on the double homicide in Boston. He then goes to appeal the decision and the murder of Odin Lloyd. And the law is if an inmate is in prison, in custody, and there's an open appeal, and that inmate, the prisoner, dies during the open appeal, the conviction is like not reversed, but abandoned. So if you look in like the record books, the official records, Aaron Hernandez is technically, he's not guilty, but he's not guilty. Does that make sense? Is that the law? Like he was found guilty, but he had an open appeal when he died. And so thus that's like stricken from the record or something like that. Something outrageous. And if I was the mom, you see the mom went on an absolute crusade and was like, fuck that. Like, I'm getting this law changed because that dude murdered my son, and everyone needs to remember that and know that that's the case. And so she went in front of like the state senate or something like that, whatever official governing body in Massachusetts, and was like, we need to get this changed. And so that's her mission in life, which I don't blame her. I mean, that's fucked up. It's such a stupid, it's like one of those laws that was around in like the 1800s. When people were wearing wooden clogs and hats with buckles on them. Like, come on. We can't all be for real. So, what a series. What a series. And what stinks is like, the former offensive lineman for the Patriots, O'Callahan, I think his name is. He came out to his parents, and his parents were like, that's fine. We understand. It came out, once it came out that Hernandez had like a gay lover in prison, one of his friends' dads was like, oh, I can't believe they're saying this such bullshit. And of course, that's when his son comes out and says, no, actually, me and Aaron had a relationship in high school when we were on the football team together, and I was the quarterback and he was the tight end. We would hook up. And so the dad was like, oh, and it's just like, damn, Daniel. Unreal. But he did some interesting shit in Florida, which is interesting because like he was kind of the same age as me. Like he has a very early November birthday, and so he went to college as a 17-year-old. Which I went to college as a 17-year-old, but I didn't go to like a premier football program, D1, on a scholarship where I was like big man on campus, you know, and like half the student body or more wants to do me. And I think I'm king shit walking into bars and like put it on my tab, which, you know, when you're on scholarship, I guess that's just kind of the mentality. If you come from a certain background, I don't know. So I can't fault them for, I guess I can fault them for some of the, you know, you're still in control of your own behavior, but like, whew, I remember me being 17 and I got, you know, like homesick my first week at a D3 college while in training camp for football and thinking like I was not going to be able to cut it. I can't imagine if like you are going to school for free and, you know, just getting like tail thrown at you left and right. You know, it's hard not to get an ego. It's hard. You really have to have a solid support system in place. And I don't know that after his father passed that he had that. So, but enough of that shit. Damn, Aaron Hernandez. Also, the fact that he had a daughter with a woman he went to high school with who was his fiance. And she stuck with him throughout it all. But that she, you know, she had a sister who was dating Odin Lloyd. I mean, it's just unreal. Anyway, that's TV. We're an hour in. Shit. Ugh. Oh, my God. Note to self. Don't eat Mexican. Don't eat a big-ass wet burrito before recording. Let's talk movies. The teaser trailer from Morbius came out. This is where I'm kind of for and against what's going on with comic book movies right now because there is so much that we haven't tapped into. But then again, there is so much that maybe we shouldn't tap into when it comes to movies and stories that we need to tell and should tell and you know, I guess expanding the universe. You know, we're really tapping the stuff that only the truly hardcore comic book fans would really know. You know, like Guardians of the Galaxy, I thought was a leap. I was like, I've never heard of these fuckers in my life. Like Avengers, yeah, I kind of remember that. But yeah, I mean, I knew Justice League, and it sucks that they fucked that movie up. But Avengers was kind of like, I kind of knew it growing up. Guardians of the Galaxy, nope, no shot, no clue. And now we got Morbius, which stars Jared Leto. It's supposed to come out late July. It's about biochemist Michael Morbius tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but he inadvertently infects himself with a form of vampirism instead, so he becomes a vampire. Directed by Daniel Espinosa, who did Life with Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds, and Rebecca Ferguson. There's that name again. I apologize, Rebecca, if you're listening. I apologize. Didn't know that you have built yourself quite the fucking resume. Which Life is an underrated movie. I highly recommend it. I think it's something that you should check the fuck out. And the screenplay is by Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless, who wrote. They've co-written Gods of Egypt, which I haven't seen, but I've heard bad things. Power Rangers, which I haven't seen, also heard bad things. And Lost in Space, the TV series, which I've heard good things about. So take that for what it's worth. Also, if you write the script for a movie that bombs, not necessarily the script's fault. Could be the acting, could be the directing, could be the producing, could be the budget, could be blah, 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 blah. So I'm not going to hold that against them. But the trailer looked good. They're trying to build out like I guess the plan for Sony, at least, is like we're going to hold on to Venom. We're going to hold on to all Spider-Man's villains. So they struck the deal with Marvel so that Marvel can now have Spider-Man in their universe and in their movies. And so Sony's plan is like, well, we're going to build out the Sinister Six, who were the six villains, core villains that banded together to fight Spidey. So we got Venom came out, 2018, Tom Hardy, which I liked, and is getting a sequel. And then Morbius, I guess, is the second in the Sinister Six rollout. Good God. I mean, there's only so many times I can apologize for burping, It's like, you get it. It's not, and now they get the bubbling in the throat, and it's like, this is not voluntary. But it's from the producers of the most recent Spider-Man trilogy and Venom, so that makes sense. Stars Adria Arjona. She was in True Detective, Narcos, Pacific Rim Uprising, Triple Frontier, and Six Underground. So she was the doctor, aka 5 in Six Underground, that I was like, why is this person in this movie? Is she just in this movie because she's super hot? Apparently she's not just a pretty face. Jared Harris, who you might remember from Mad Men, The Terror, The Crown, The Expanse, and most recently Chernobyl. Great actor. J.K. Simmons is rumored to be J. Jonah Jameson. And, Matt Smith from Doctor Who and The Crown. Tyrese Gibson is in this movie, which I think is kind of funny. And then towards the end, we get to see Michael Keaton as, I assume, as Vulture. Adrian Toomes. And this is what sucks is I swore off the Spider-Man franchise after the fucking Andrew Garfield experiment, which, I guess the first one with Andrew Garfield did well and was well reviewed, and then the second one wasn't. But I just never really bought into Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. There's Tom Holland, though. I think that's the name, Tom Holland. It's like, yeah, that's about as teenager as you can get. So they really nailed it with his casting. And it's like, just let it go, Neil. Embrace what's ahead. Embrace the future. Embrace hope. So I really need to catch up on the Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man franchise. Far From Home and Homecoming, and I don't know if there was another one, but obviously I've seen Civil War and Endgame and Infinity War, so I've seen him in those movies, and I've liked what I've seen so far. So I need to give it a shot. But Michael Keaton as Vulture. So I would assume that Vulture, now have Vulture, Venom, Morbius, and then whoever I guess Jake Gyllenhaal was the villain in the last one, whoever he was. But not Electro. Electro was Jamie Foxx. So that looks good. It still looks good. I'm gonna watch it probably, but it feels like Morbius, Leto's Morbius. It feels like, I don't know. It feels like a combination of Batman with Spider-Man with a little bit of Venom mixed in. And there's that whole theory too about what is that theory? Vampire content, vampire movies and TV shows are more prevalent and are more successful when there's a Republican president, hence the success of Twilight during George W. Bush's? Or is it the reverse? It might be the reverse. I think zombies are more popular when it's a Republican president, and vampires are more successful when it's a Democrat in the office. I'm burping like crazy right now. I don't give a shit. I don't know. If you care, like, get a life. So yeah, I'm in on that. I ended up watching Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2 today because I was like, you know what? Bad Boys for Life, killing it at the box office, relatively speaking. I mean, it's a January release, but I think it did like 70 million at the box office over the weekend, which is good for a January long weekend. Especially when Doolittle is bombing. But it also proves the point that, you know, there is still some life in bringing back some franchises and reviving them. Interesting that they would bring this one back, because it's like Bad Boys, I think, came out in 98. Bad Boys 2 came out in 2003. And it's those two movies are like a masterclass in Michael Bay. Like, massive explosions, pretty like over the top, exaggerated but cool looking shots, and then just like hot chicks. It's like massive guns, lots of gunfire. And I mean, the combination of Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, I mean, I like, you cannot go wrong with that. So Bad Boys 1, you get Taya Leone. And then she just like, I don't know if I'd missed this part in Bad Boys 2, but she just like disappeared. Like, it made it seem like she's part, you know, they made a clear point towards the end of Bad Boys 1, like, you're part of the team now, you're part of our team. And the last shot you see is like her handcuffed to Will Smith, and you're like, oh, are they gonna like do it now? Or, and nope, she's nowhere to be found. Which I vaguely remember her being like not so happy. Like, it wasn't revealed too much later, but she was just not happy about being a part of that production. But 1998 Taya Leone, oh boy, hot cha. Bad Boys 2, we get Gabrielle Union, who is equally hot, if not hotter. And I didn't see Bad Boys for Life, but the fact that it did 70 million, just like, I probably need to see it now. The who is the bad guy in Bad Boys 1? I completely forgot. It was like someone running heroin. It was like was it a Mexican gang, Hispanic gang? It was a Russian guy. But just the most severe villain of all time. And then Bad Boys 2, he had a Cuban guy who might not have been Cuban. But then you have the guy from like The Big Lebowski and Fargo, who's just always like such a funny dude. But I would love to know the plot. I'm going to look up the plot real quick as I choke back more frickin' mucus. Disgusting. Old school cops Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett team up to take down the vicious leader of a Miami drug cartel. Newly created elite team Ammo of the Miami Police Department, along with Mike and Marcus, go up against the ruthless Armando Armas. I mean, it's like exactly what the first two were. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? Who else is in this shit? Produced by Bruckheimer. Screenplay by blah, blah, blah. Peter Craig, Joe Carnahan. Alexander Ludwig, Charles Milton, Paolo Nunez, Kate Castillo, Nicky Jam, Joe Pantoliano. Who's it directed by? Did I miss that? Adil El Arbi and Bilal Falah. Interesting. Set 17 years of the second film, Miami detective Marcus Burnett, who just witnessed the birth of his grandson. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, I mean, 17 years, fellas. His grandson? Wait, what? Oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense. Because Marcus is Martin Lawrence. Yeah. All right. Whew. Vanessa Hudgens. She's cool. DJ Khaled. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I don't know if I'll be able to see it in the theater, but all right. Let's talk Joker. There have been a few episodes of this show that talked about the all the pomp and circumstance around Joker leading to its theatrical debut in early October, when we had reports and stories about movie theaters beefing up security, NYPD getting called in. This is a disgusting show. I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like I've been pretty upfront with you guys. Like, I'm sloppy. I don't know what to tell you. But, you know, there were reports about NYPD beefing up security at Joker. You know, possibility of, like, incel attacks. All these incels, like, banding together and taking over cities and rioting and looting and pillaging and terrorizing our cities because they saw Joker, which sounds so ridiculous. Now, some November, December, January, 3 months later, it had a budget of around $55 to $70 million, and generated north of $1 billion. I think it was its fourth all time among box office grosses for an R-rated movie. It's fourth. And then all time grosses, I think it's like 64th. But if you like adjust for inflation or something, it's like in the 200s. Because movie tickets cost an arm and also a leg. Directed by Todd Phillips of The Hangover fame. He also got a writing credit alongside Scott Silver, who wrote The Fighter and 8 Mile. Joaquin Phoenix, obviously the lead role as Arthur Fleck. Robert De Niro plays Murray Franklin, a TV talk show host that's kind of like Johnny Carson-esque. Zazie Beetz, who I thought was kind of really underutilized in this movie. And I get, you know, I don't know. It just felt like we could have done more with her character. I mean, the movie was 2 hours long, so it's like you can only do so much without, really weighing down the movie and, losing people. But I almost thought, like, why even include her? And I guess they included her because it's like she's got name recognition now and she's can bring in an audience. But I believe Philip said that there might have been more scenes with her that got cut, which I would make sense because it feels like her involvement was very like superficial. I don't know if there are any really big names except Mark Maron was in it. If you're like a stand-up comedy fan like I am, Sam Morril, who's a awesome comedian, is in it. Gary Goldman, who I talked about in a previous episode with his latest special. Here's the critics' consensus from Rotten Tomatoes. Joker gives its infamous central character a chillingly plausible orange. Yeah? A plausible orange story? Origin. Joker gives its infamous central character a chillingly plausible origin story that serves as a brilliant showcase for its star and a dark evolution for comics-inspired cinema. Okay. 69% of critics gave it a favorable review. 88% of the audience got through around 30% of its total gross from domestically, and then almost 69% of its total gross from international outlets. $735 million from international. Whew. And the filmmakers cited Alan Moore's comic The Killing Joke, Martin Scorsese's film Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, and The King of Comedy as influences. King of Comedy was about a comedian obsessed with a talk show host, which is like, yeah, spot on. Originally, I guess Martin Scorsese was supposed to direct. And they wanted to get Leo DiCaprio as the Joker, which, I mean, if we end up doing this like Joker anthology series, which I think they could do if they do it right, it's just like every 10 years, maybe 5 to 10 years, you just come out with a different Joker movie, so that we never really truly know who the actual real Joker is. And maybe that's because that's what, if you ever watched Gotham on Fox, and maybe this was an inspiration for them too, because Gotham on Fox, it's basically like, I don't know if you call it a prequel, but it's like focuses on Bruce Wayne when he's like, 12 or 13. And like how he eventually becomes Batman, but it also really focuses more on the villains. So the emergence of the rise of Penguin, the rise of the Riddler, and all the other villains in the Gotham universe. And they kind of have one story arc over a few episodes, and I forget what season, that focuses on a kid who is eerily familiar or similar to the Joker, but they never quite call him the Joker. And the upshot, or the punchline, is that his behavior catches on with the public, and so you see a lot of different people almost becoming, I guess, like infected by his persona, and they want to be like him. And so there are all these other guys out there who kind of take up the mantle, which I think was the opposite of what happened in like Dark Knight, when it was like, oh, you see all these wannabe vigilantes trying to be Batman. But I feel like that's more prevalent with Joker than it is any other villain or character in that universe, where it's like just sweeps the public off its feet. And like you have almost like you do with a superhero, where it's like everyone wants to be Batman, everyone wants to be Superman. You don't really see that with a lot of other villains. Like, oh, I really want to be Dr. Octopus, oh, I really want to be Magneto. But with the Joker, it's different. And it's happened over several different productions that aren't really related to each other. Gotham being one, and now you have Joker, and I feel like it happened somewhere else too, where it's like it's infectious. I don't know any other way to say it, but that happens in this movie too. And so it almost makes sense that you would do an anthology series, because after seeing this movie, after seeing the reviews and the takeaways and all the takes, is this actually the Joker? And I posited, like in a previous episode, I thought the theory I had was, in The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger, I could believe in real life, Heath Ledger at the time was 26, which let's do the math on that. Dark Knight came out in 2008. You subtract 27 years, and the year you get is 1981. Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix, was set in 1981. So, my theory is this Arthur Fleck character, and this is where it doesn't necessarily work out, because Although it could. I guess it still could, yeah, because it's like 81, we see him. I think it could still work out. So I liked how they played with that. It's like, well, there's a possibility that Heath Ledger's Joker is really the son of Arthur Fleck, who took on the moniker of Joker. So apparently pseudobulbar affect is a condition that is characterized by an involuntary and uncontrollable reaction of laughter or crying that's disproportionate to an event, which is the condition that purportedly Arthur Fleck suffers from. And I love that they definitely play on your, because I mean, the whole attraction for us from the audience's standpoint is like, this is like the origin story for the Joker. But it's really a story about like a guy who's just beaten down by life, who led a rough life, who was dealt a raw hand, a bad deck of cards, and was trying to make the best of it, trying to make the best of the situation, trying to stay positive, wanting to make the world laugh in his own way, and eventually snapping and caving in, and you know, I mean, the world that he was in, 1981 Gotham, quote unquote, which is effectively a stand-in for New York City. Like, it was a rough time at that point, you know. From what I've heard, it was like less than one during that time. So I can't speak firsthand, but you know, in the movie they make it clear, like the violence. There's I think it was in the summer of 81 is when they said this took place. So it's hot, you know. Porn is still like, you know, visible everywhere in Times Square, and you know, it kind of dominates the scene. There's violence, you know, rash of violence, very different my mind than now. It's funny that I keep burping and I'm like, keep drinking. Just can't stop, won't stop. But I like the connection that they make throughout the film. They do little subtle things that kind of connect you to the other, you know, because they're not dumb. If you're watching this movie, you're probably a fan of the Joker in all its forms and shapes and sizes. They're not dumb. They know everyone thinks of, when they think of Joker, they think of Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. So I loved that at one point in the film, Joker's looking out of the cop car, and the camera focuses on his face while there is something present in the background. But definitely a similar shot to Heath Ledger, you know, with his head out the cop car in Dark Knight. And they did that shot twice in Joker. There was once where he's on the bus, he's kind of leaning his head against the window, and then they do that same shot when he's leaning his head against the cop car. See, this is the first R-rated movie in history to make $1 billion. But then this says top lifetime grosses by rating. This is fourth, so I don't know. Top 5. Here's another fun fact. Arthur Fleck performed stand-up at Pogo's Comedy Club in Gotham. Pogo the Clown was the stage name of real-life professional clown and serial killer John Wayne Gacy. I mean, it's not really a fun fact. It's just interesting. The 2 films showing at the theater the Wayne family is shown exiting near the end are Blowout and Zorro the Gay Blade, which are both real movies that were released on back-to-back weekends in July 1981. Zorro, of course, is traditionally the movie that the Wayne family is supposed to have seen on the fateful night of Batman's origin story. Some of my favorite moments and scenes that others have shared. The train scene where he sticks it to those 3, I guess, Wall Street types. So 3 dudes who are drunk harassing the woman on the subway, on the train. And he's just about had enough, takes the gun and finishes him off. I don't know how I felt about the ensuing bathroom scene where he's just like dancing in slow motion. I don't know. It felt, it was supposed to be like, I guess that's him celebrating coming out of his shell and like his coming out party. Like he's celebrating how free it makes him feel to kill, and how good it makes him feel to get his revenge and to, get his own form of justice. So I get that. But it just, I don't know. To say it was a favorite scene, I don't know. I mean, my favorite scene, this is going to sound ridiculous, but one of my favorite scenes was when he's about to get ready to go do his thing on the talk show. And his two buddies from the clown company, party clown company where he works, show up. The one guy is the fat dude, the lawyer from Billions. He's been in some other stuff too, which I can't remember at this time. But, and then the little guy, little person, just like him, brutally murdering that fat guy. Who's the fat guy is the one who gave him the gun in the first place, and essentially got him fired, I think. Even though it's like that scene also was one of my favorites, whereas he's dancing in the children's hospital and like just acting goofy as hell, and this fucking real gun flies out of his coat, his overcoat. Unbelievable. But like the other scene where he brutally murders the fat guy who gave him the gun, and he's just sitting there like out of breath with the fat guy like covered in blood, and the little person is just cowering in the corner like, I don't want to die, what the hell's going on? And Arthur Fleck is just like, oh, hey man, don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you, why would I hurt you? And so the little person kind of like scurries to the door to get away, but can't reach the door handle or something like that. And so he asks Arthur Fleck for help. A little help. Sick and or twisted? No, sick and twisted. When he discovers the truth that his mom is pretty crazy and that he's adopted and he suffered through all this abuse, when he kills his mom, the stairway dance, which made those stairs famous, and that has been like overrun with influencers trying to get that IG love, trying to get the social media likes, trying to chase the clout. Interesting that like I remember I guess when he gets fired, he's like kicking the shit out of that dumpster, the garbage can in that alley, just like real pissed off. And I guess Joaquin Phoenix took it to such a level that he like ended up actually hurting his knee. So like when you see him fall on the ground and like gripping his knee, like that's real. He's in pain. Joaquin Phoenix takes his shit for real. The start of the riot, I like that scene where he's getting chased by the cops, and all the people in the clown masks are on the way to the riot or the movement or whatever, the protest, and they're on the subway and trying to go through the crowded subway, and the cops are like trying to get through, and they get mauled and overrun by the mob wearing the clown masks. Very cool. I almost want to see more of that. I know we did. Like it was very, it's just weird that you go from essentially like the beginning of the riot on the subway, and then you see like Arthur calmly getting ready in the makeup room, and he's talking with Murray, and they go on the show, and it's like they bring up the topic of the murders and whatnot, and you don't like, you just think like, oh, it's almost like they paused the riot. Like there's this contained environment where the riot, it's just like you almost forget the riot's going on. And then of course the what happens in the studio and the ensuing panic, and then you spill out into the streets, and the riot's in full effect. I like how they did that. I mean, I like how they did that. It's just like, you know, it plays with your mind a little bit. And then eventually see like one of the rioters take down the Waynes, which, has been associated with several different people, told several different ways. I think Batman 89, it was Jack Nicholson's Joker who pulled the trigger. It was typically in most iterations, it's Joe Chill, or whatever the fuck his name is. And so, I mean, that the riot scene where he gets the cop car carrying him gets sideswiped, he gets pulled out and splayed out on the hood of the cop car. It comes to and stands up, and he like paints the smiley face and blood on his. I mean, that's just like whoo, grade A stuff. One con I will say is and I know like it would take away from the movie if they did this, but Joaquin Phoenix put a fucking shirt on. Oh my God, dude. Put a shirt on. Put a shirt on that's coming from someone who knows when to put his shirt on, and wore a shirt in the ocean when he was 8 because he was concerned about how fat he was. So I know when to put a shirt on. Joaquin Phoenix needs to put a shirt on. He lost something like 50 plus pounds for this role. He was all skin and bone, and it was grotesque. And I know you shouldn't body shame, but damn, dude. I mean, I've never seen a rib cage stick out. It's bedtime. That's the bedtime sound if you're not familiar with it. A lullaby. So I'm gonna put this podcast to bed pretty soon. I get about 1,000 things to get through. But Joaquin Phoenix's like rib cage was like jutting out. Like you could see how his organs were processing like whatever like minuscule slice of food he had, and whatever morsel of food he had in his system. Just hard to watch. And like Joaquin Phoenix is an interesting dude, man. I mean, we all know about the lip. I think he had a cleft lip that he had fixed, but like he even has like this like, shoulder blade that just seemingly comes out of nowhere, you know. The rib cage just being so far protruding out. No, I don't know how, and he talked about it, the weight loss, and he said like there comes a point where like, it definitely put him in the right frame of mind for acting as someone who's, insane, because it makes you insane. You're starving, you're depressed, you're angry, you're hangry. So I guess it made his job a little bit easier. But the thing that I didn't even think about while watching the movie, or even after the movie, even the day after, until I read like a article on collider.com where they explain the ending, and they basically said it's all in his mind. So everything you're seeing was in his mind, which, you kind of picked up on it. Like anytime Zazie Beetz, her character, was like hanging out with him, you're like, there's just no way. I mean, even my wife and my sister-in-law that I was watching with, it was just like, this is just, no, is this, we were saying, is this real? But we were saying as if, no, this is not real. So you kind of knew that he was playing with reality throughout the narrative, but to say it was all in his mind, I was just like, oh, fuck, what the hell? No, I can't subscribe to that. So they said the ending of the film where the Joker's in Arkham is meant to be ambiguous, as the viewer is given to draw a line about what exactly did happen and did not happen throughout the movie, because everything is from Arthur's perspective. This is further hinted when he says to the doctor, you wouldn't get it, when he was asked what he finds funny, implying that the whole thing was one big joke to him. Towards the end of the film, when Arthur looks at the picture of his mother smiling, as you will see on the back of the photo is the phrase, "I've always loved your smile." What you may have missed is that it's initialed TW, as in Thomas Wayne, adding to the mystery of whether he truly is the Joker's father. Considering the power and influence, it could have been easy to forge adoption papers. Then again, it could have been just as easy for Penny to sign the photo herself, given her mental state. So, what do you believe? What don't you believe? Yeah, I mean, when they hinted that, or when they revealed, I guess fake revealed, I don't know, that Thomas Wayne was Arthur Fleck's father, and that like Arthur Fleck and Bruce Wayne were like half brothers, I was like, oh yeah, they went there and they are going all in, just completely, giving like hardcore fans like a hissy fit over canon, whatever the fuck that means, because they're so hard on for canon. But I would say 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 stars. Talks of a sequel. I don't know how you would pull off the sequel with this. I think you almost have to go with a different Joker, don't you? The different person as the Joker, who maybe saw Arthur Fleck's, escapades and decided to go on to follow in his footsteps, be a copycat. I don't know. I mean, Bruce Wayne was like, what, 10 in this movie? And Arthur Fleck was, they said he was like 30, but he looked like, I mean, how old is Joaquin Phoenix? He's got to be in his 40s now. Joaquin Phoenix, 1974. He's 45. Yeah. All right. It's like, how old is Thomas Wayne? Jesus. So Thomas Wayne was working with Penny. This is the other thing. And I mean, Arthur Fleck was not 45 in the movie, or at least they didn't purport him to be. He was something like 30 in the movie. So I always get caught up in the fucking math of things. I just can't enjoy TV or movie when something does not like jive with me mathematically. I have to like, I miss major plot points trying to put like the numbers together in my head, in my mental calculator. Major flaw amongst many. So that's Joker. 4 out of 5. Beers, Miller Lights. What was I drinking? Natter Days. And for sure, definitely had a night terror, because Natter Days, I've come to learn, are like, well, I also had licorice and M&Ms, so that probably didn't help things. But anytime you get like the late night sugar in your system, it's just like, that's gasoline for the night terror machine. So Natter Days, that's a day drinking beer. You can't have that close to bedtime. Oh my God, I sound like such an asshole. All right, so that's Joker. I ended up watching Jexi with Adam Devine. And I can almost guarantee you, if this had anyone else in the lead role, I don't know that I would have watched it. For being honest with anyone, with each other. And after watching it, I can understand why. Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for this and being like, oh, wow, they're putting this in theaters. Because to me, it just, you see the trailer and even now, having seen the movie, it seems like it's a Netflix, direct to Netflix type movie. Which Adam Devine has done and has done well with. I think it was, is it Romantic? Was that the one? It was like basically Groundhog Day, but like a rom-com, which Groundhog Day was a rom-com, but it was Adam Devine's version of Groundhog Day. And that was good. And this one got to theaters, and it's directed by John Lucas and Scott Moore, also written by John Lucas and Scott Moore. They did Bad Moms Christmas together, Office Christmas Party, Bad Moms, The Hangover, Ghost of Girlfriends Past, Four Christmases. So, I mean, those are all movies that I fucking love. So it's no surprise that I love this movie. And I can understand. I mean, it's got a shitty rating from critics. 11% of critics gave it a favorable review. 71% of the audience gave it a favorable review. That's all you need to know. Critics, I know why critics hated this movie, because it probably wasn't original or that unique. Okay. It is formulaic and, pretty predictable. But critics say that like it's a bad thing. But if it's pulled off well and you enjoy, like, did you enjoy the movie watching the movie? Or did you sit there the whole time being like, oh, formulaic, so predictable? It's like, well, what the fuck did you expect? It's a rom-com with Adam Devine about a guy who's like attached to his phone and ends up getting a phone that has a crazy OS that's like glitched out and that gets too real and honest with him. The critics' consensus, at least from Rotten Tomatoes, is it's hard to tell whether the lack of laughs in Jexi is a bug or a feature, but this AI rom-com is sorely in need of an OS update. It's like, I don't know about that, dude. Lack of laughs. What fucking movie were you watching? Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B- on the A+ to F scale. And I would agree with that. I mean, this is an above average comedy, rom-com. Where it fell short, I mean, it was in the top 10 in the box office its first week and then left theaters within a month, which isn't great. Grossed less than 10 million worldwide. Honestly, where it fell short for me was the lack of development for Kate Finnegan, played by an actress who does not look like a Kate Finnegan. I've known a Kate Finnegan, and she does not look like that. But Alexandra Shipp, who plays the new Storm in the X-Men series, Dark Phoenix Apocalypse. She was also Abby in Love, Simon and was in Straight Outta Compton, but they didn't develop her character enough, and the movie's runtime was only like 84 minutes. So I feel like they had a little buffer, a little room to develop her character more. And to, and I understand, it's almost like she just wasn't a character. She was just a plot device. It was like, we want to make sure that this guy gets outside his bubble, gets outside his comfort zone, embraces life and everything that life has to offer, experiences reality, and detaches himself from his phone, disconnects, and actually has real human relationships with people. And in order for him to do that, because that's really the main plot, it takes this woman, love interest to show interest in him, and she, her kind of telling her story, as brief as it was. I mean, it's basically her background is like, worked for Amazon or something, some huge company, tech giant, doing very well, but got burnt out and just said, fuck it, tow it all, and opened up her own bike shop. So she does hiking, and she's very like, experiencing real life. So, and it had the typical, like, it had a montage, and but I still think, Rose Byrne was the voice of Jexi, which is the equivalent of like Siri or Alexa or Cortana, which is a great joke in there about like Cortana and Alexa, and like, you're worse than Cortana. Ron Funches, great stand-up comedian who probably deserved a little more screen time. Charlene Yi, I think I want to say she was in Knocked Up, but I'm probably wrong about that. Michael Pena as Kai, which I thought I appreciated the effort that he put into it. And I think for the most part he nailed it. Could have been maybe a little bit better. Wanda Sykes as like the employee at the phone store just hit it out of the park. Kid Cudi made a cameo. And of course, you had Justin Hartley, who plays like the heartthrob ex-boyfriend that comes back to try and take Kate away from Adam Devine's character, Phil. Turns out, here's some trivia. Phil shares the same San Francisco apartment building as Eddie Brock and Venom. So see how it's all connected, man. I think the biggest takeaway for me in this movie was the fact that, if you don't know, and I've probably said this on the show before, Adam Devine, when he was like 10 or 11, tried to cross a major highway in like Nebraska where he lived, and got smoked by like a Mack truck. It got fucking run over real bad by a truck or something, to the point where he was in the hospital for like weeks and weeks and weeks, full body cast, so many surgeries. And in this movie, they have him trying to cross multiple high traffic, heavy traffic roads, entering heavy traffic in a car, trying to like almost getting hit by cars, how Adam Devine didn't have like nasty ass flashbacks in this movie. That's the real story, in my opinion. That's the real character arc for Adam Devine, is the fact that he was able to overcome his fear of crossing traffic. Why would they do that to him? I mean, he has such a significant scarring on his legs that he covers them with socks, which you can see when he's trying to take the dick pic to send to Kate when she sends him the kind of risque photo of her like low cut top. Wasn't even her exposed boobs. He was just like, yep, dick pic. It's just like, yeah, I think we all been there. Tit for tat. Yeah, so I mean, it's an easy watch. I mean, I don't understand how you don't like the movie. If you don't like it, you get a black heart. So, I mean, there was I definitely had my fair share of alcohol over the course of the night, because I think I learned my lesson from drinking all those natter days. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stick to vodka. Vodka does the trick. But vodka tends to make me a little emotional. So I remember definitely pausing at one point and getting off on a rant with my wife for about an hour about something, and then coming back to it and being like, oh, wait, what's going on? But good comedy. What could they have done to turn it into, a movie that has the success of like A Hangover or Four Christmases or Office Christmas Party or Bad Moms? Not to say that Office Christmas Party blew the doors off, but it definitely did better than 9 million at the box office. Where was the disconnect? I don't know. I always thought Adam Devine has the chops to be like the male lead, but maybe not like this. Maybe people are just too tired of seeing this kind of movie. He just doesn't have the pull yet. I don't know. But this team has worked on Wedding Crashes, 27 Dresses, Chicken Little, Monster-in-Law, and Mr. Woodcock. Most of those were uncredited, but they have a pretty good history. So I don't know. I don't know where it misfired. I would say probably, just not developing the female leads enough. But I liked it. Definitely not like top 10 comedies of all time, but if you could definitely give it a watch. It's quick, it's easy. There are definitely some laughs. I don't know about that lack of laughs bullshit. Do I want to talk about It Comes at Night? I'll be quick about this one. This one was came out a while ago, 2017, June 2017. Kind of a horror mystery. Synopsis is: secure within a desolate home as an unnatural threat terrorizes the world. A man has established a tenuous domestic order with his wife and son. Then a desperate young family arrives seeking refuge. Directed and written by Trey Edward Schultz. I don't know. I don't think he has any other major credits, but Joel Edgerton plays the Paul, who's the man of the house. Christopher Abbott is Will. I know he's been in some other stuff. I can't name off the top of my head. Carmen Ejogo as Sarah. Riley Keough as Kim, which I didn't know that was Riley Keough. And then Kelvin Harrison Jr. as Travis, who is supposed to be playing like a 17-year-old, and he looks like he's... there are definitely moments where his mannerisms and just his physicality indicate like, okay, this is a teenage boy we're dealing with. But like when you see him, you're like, that is a man. That is a full-grown man. The critics' consensus is that It Comes at Night makes lethally effective use of its bare-bones trappings while proving once again that what's left unseen can be just as horrifying as anything on the screen. 87% of critics gave it a favorable review. Only 44% of audience gave it a favorable review. And I think I know why. It's an indie film kind of posing as a big budget film. It's sold you on you watch the trailer and you're watching the first probably quarter of the film, first act, and you're like, okay, so this is like a zombie movie, right? Zombie movie. So when are the zombies coming? When are the zombies coming? If you are honed in on there being zombies and there being a zombie attack and zombie overrunning shit, I guess you'll be disappointed and you'll come away from it being like, what the fuck? Where are the zombies? And they definitely hint at something sinister on the level of zombies here and there throughout the film, I guess, to keep you interested, to keep your attention. I was not of the, I know my sister-in-law was like, that's it. And she was kind of, I guess, think she was hoping for zombies. And it's like, no, this is just more about a cautionary tale about like, it's almost realer. It's like the real life version of what would happen if something like this were to happen, where it's a, contagious virus that kind of just, eats away at you from the inside and kills you in a matter of, days. But it's, a painful, and it looks painful. And, they start out the movie by showing how the grandfather going through it, but then you see the grandson having nightmares, and his nightmares, you're like, oh, I guess that's what really happens, because you're only really seeing it from his perspective. And no, it's just, it's a viral outbreak that wipes out a large swath of the population in metropolitan areas. Everything that you kind of are familiar with from watching zombie movies. But it's not a zombie movie. So I think that really must have pissed a lot of people off. I applaud it because I think it's clever. It's like, hey, we know you like zombie movies, but here, watch a movie about what would really happen, to us when, something of this, an epidemic hits us, who we become and what we try to hold on to. So I appreciated it. I mean, some people have said that the title represents the need to rest at night, but also the fear and anxiety that can take over you. Which, I am completely, preaching to the choir, my man. For a majority of the movie, every time Travis is dreaming, the screen becomes CinemaScope style, transitioning out of CinemaScope style when he wakes up, which we didn't completely notice. I mean, my sister-in-law called it out, but there is a moment towards the end where it's like the frame kind of comes and becomes a way like hyper letterbox. And you're like, whoa. And you're like, I think that's interesting that you don't see more filmmakers do that, which I mean, you don't do it the right way. It can be super distracting. And of course they did it to the point where we definitely noticed it, but it caused you to definitely focus and become more hyper aware about what was going on the screen. So I think it actually worked out in this case. The cast and crew of the film signed a non-disclosure agreement that forbids them from ever revealing what comes at night. Fans and critics are in agreement that Travis's dreams are what comes at night. Also, I guess this is a good point that I completely overlooked. The aspect ratio transitions to that really narrow letterbox kind of thing where it's thick black bars at the top and bottom of the screen. And this is to symbolize how Travis's family has progressively tunnel visioned themselves into thinking that Will's family is sick and denying that Travis, the teenager, is actually the sick one. The director has acknowledged that there are several films that were influential in the making of this. All of them I I guess I've seen or familiar with Rosemary's Baby, which I haven't seen, but I've heard. Night of the Living Dead, zombie movie. The Shining, isolation, fear, anxiety, fueling madness, essentially. The Thing, which I haven't seen, but I'm familiar with. Come and See. I don't know what that is. The Fly, which, you know, there's in The Fly. I mean, what stuck out, I've never seen it, but I know what scenes stuck out to me is when Jeff Goldblum actually transitions into The Fly, and it's like grotesque. And I think that fear overwhelms a lot of the people in this movie, where they're like, I don't want to turn into a zombie, because that's what's been planted in our head from years and years and years of seeing this on screen. And then The Tree of Life, which, dude, I remember watching the beginning of The Tree of Life with my mom, and you know, I had to really sell my mom on this. I was like, no, it's critically acclaimed, high praise. I think it's got Oscar nominations, blah, blah, blah. And we turned it on, and that fucking opening scene that went on for like, had to have been, I gotta look it up. Off the top of my head, I'd say it was probably 15 to 20 minutes of just like, what the fuck is this, and how does this relate to the movie? Because you see the trailer, and then you see this opening scene, and literally there were about 5 times during this opening scene where I had to pause it, and I was like, is this the Tree of Life? Like, I didn't know. It makes you doubt what you're watching. How long is the Tree of Life? So the Tree of Life is 3 hours and 8 minutes. Opening scene. I don't know if I'm going to get the answer here. I mean, the fact that it's 3 hours and 8 minutes, and the first like 20 minutes are this fucking like seemingly unrelated opening with none of the characters that are in the movie. And it's essentially like the creation of, I guess, the evolution and the creation of life in our planet, and life and dinosaurs. And I remember turning to my mom and being like, I don't know if this is the right movie. Oh boy. Anyway. Yeah, history of the universe is what it focuses on. Fuck that movie, dude. I don't care who likes it or who. Yeah, I will never give that another shot. I don't care who says to me, no, thank you. Yeah, so I would give It Comes at Night a shot, even though I just spoiled the fuck out of it for you. Sorry. Yeah, so that's that. That's the show. Kind of a blah blah show. I was trying to drink booze and got very gassy. I apologize. So I don't know. It's so funny. I tell you to like keep calling the hotline, but I don't even check the hotline to see if anyone's called, just because I know no one's called it. You know what? At the next show, I'm going to start with call the number. Just call it 862-BIT-1986. It's 862-248-1986. It looks like I actually did get a missed call on January 4th. What do you know? No message. Awesome. Real Cinch on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. Facebook.com/giantmess. Next episode will probably be focused more on the Giants and the Mets, which I hope to do tomorrow night, but who knows? Probably not. And then, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this much longer. You know, I know there's probably like 0 people listening at this point because I'm so deep in and so far in. But I have a challenge. I guess that's what's cool on the internet now, because I'm almost 40 and I don't know what the fuck is cool or what. I mean, like TikTok, like, come on. But if you are watching at this point or listening at this point, let me know at the 2 hour and 5 minute mark. Let me know. And the way you let me know is I'm going to give you like a keyword or a secret word that only you know, because you're the only one still tuning in at this point. I will think of a word real quick. Let's go with Pilsner. 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 That's the word. And if you just, in any mode of communication, text, fax, beep, whatever you can get your hands on to communicate with me, just say Pilsner. We'll get a real gauge of how delusional I am to think that people actually watch and listen at this point in the fucking show. Maybe I'll send you a Pilsner in the mail, give me your address and I'll just shoot it over UPS, whatever. All right. That's a show. Jesus Christ. I'll talk to you soon. Adios, muchachos. Holy shit.